Ask someone in their 60s what they wish they'd done differently with money. They won't say they wish they bought a nicer car. They won't say they wish they'd taken more vacations. Almost every time, the answer involves the same handful of things. Starting sooner, saving more, paying less attention to the noise. And the hardest part? Most of those regrets didn't require a windfall to avoid. They just required a different decision made a little earlier with a little more intention. The good news is, for a lot of people watching this, that window hasn't closed. Hi, I'm Larry Sprung with Midland Financial. I've had the privilege of sitting across from people at different stages of life, and one pattern keeps showing up. The financial regrets people carry into retirement rarely come from catastrophic mistakes. They come from delay, from putting things off, from assuming there was more time. And the conversations that stick with me most aren't the ones where someone made a big error. They're the ones where someone did almost everything right, but waited just a few years too long on the things that mattered most. Today, we're covering three things. What people most commonly wish they had done differently earlier. How you can course correct right now, even if you feel behind. And the small changes that still carry enormous impact even later in the game. And somewhere in here, I'll share a story that I think will hit close to home for a lot of people in their 40s and 50s. So let's jump right into point one, the regrets that show up most and why they're so consistent. When researchers actually ask people about financial regret, the answers are remarkably consistent. A Bankrate survey found that not saving enough for retirement is the number one financial regret among American adults, with the sharpest concentration among people in their 40s and 50s who feel the weight of time beginning to shift. But here's what's worth paying attention to. The regret isn't usually about one big decision. It's about a pattern. Years of prioritizing the immediate over the important, funding the vacation instead of the 401k, holding cash because the market felt uncertain, or waiting until things calm down to get serious. The problem is, things never fully calm down, and the years spent waiting are years compound growth didn't get to work. This is why understanding the shape of regret matters, not to dwell on it, but to recognize it before it becomes permanent. Point number two, you can course correct, but the strategy has to match the stage. Here's what a lot of people in their 40s and 50s don't fully realize. The rules are actually built to help you catch up. The IRS allows catch-up contributions to retirement accounts for anyone 50 and older. In 2026, that means contributing up to a total of $32,500 to a 401k. And also, keep in mind, if you're turning ages 60 to 63 in 2026, your total is even higher at $35,750 and up to $8,600 to an IRA, which is above the standard limit specifically because Congress recognized that people need an accelerated on-ramp later in life. But catch-up contributions are just one piece. Course correcting at this stage also means looking at the full picture: debt structure, tax efficiency, spending trajectory, what Social Security will actually look like, how healthcare costs factor in before Medicare kicks in. The mistake people make is treating catch-up as a savings problem when it's really a planning problem. You can't just save harder and expect it to compensate for a plan that was never built for where you're heading. Course correcting in your 40s and 50s means getting specific, not just doing more, but doing the right things in the right order with a clear target in mind. Let me tell you a story about two friends, Bianca and Jane. They were the same age, graduated the same year, and got their first real paychecks around the same time. And right away, life gave them plenty of reasons to delay investing. Rent was expensive, friends were making plans, student loans were waiting. Life was already asking for their money. But at 21, Bianca made a decision that Jane would wait until she was 30 to make, and Bianca started investing. Not because she had extra money lying around, she just decided to start small. She invested $2,400 a year, that's $200 a month. And Bianca kept investing through her 20s, and then at 30, she stopped adding new money. In total, Bianca contributed $21,600. Now, Jane did what a lot of smart people do. She waited for the right time, a bigger paycheck, a smaller student loan balance, a little more breathing room, so she told herself, I'll get serious later. And listen, that doesn't make Jane careless, it makes her human. At 21, retirement feels like someone else's life. The bills in front of you feel immediate. So Jane did what a lot of people do, and she told herself she had time. But compound interest doesn't wait for you to feel ready, it rewards time. Jane started investing at age 30. Same $2,400 a year, but Jane kept investing all the way to age 67. That means Jane contributed for 37 years, and her total contribution was $88,800. Now, Bianca put in $21,600, Jane put in $88,800, but by age 67, Bianca would end up with about $2.1 million, where Jane would end up with about $1.2 million. So think about that. Even though Jane contributed more than 4 times as much money as Bianca, Bianca gave her money something Jane could not get back and add later: time. Now, this is hypothetical and it's not a guarantee, it's not a promise, but it shows why the early years matter so much. The dollars Bianca invested in her 20s had decades to grow. Then that growth had time to create more growth. That is the joy of compound interest, and why so many people in their 40s and 50s look back and say, I wish I had started sooner. Not because they were lazy, because they did not realize how powerful time could be until time had already passed. So the lesson is not feel bad if you did not start at 21. The lesson is do not let another year go by just because the perfect moment has not arrived. Because compound interest is not just about growing money, it's about giving your future self more choices, fewer regrets, and a better chance to live the life you are working toward today. That is the joy of starting sooner. Let's jump into point 3. Small changes still move the needle more than people expect. One of the most powerful things I tell people who feel behind is this: you don't need a dramatic intervention. You need consistency applied over time. Research from Vanguard found that investors who made steady incremental increases to their savings rate, as little as 1% per year, accumulated significantly more over a 20-year period than those who made sporadic, large contributions without a system. 1%, not a lifestyle overhaul, not a dramatic sacrifice. 1% repeated with discipline. This matters because a lot of people in their 40s and 50s have convinced themselves that unless they can make a major change, a smaller one isn't worth making. That's the thinking that leads to more delay. A smaller emergency fund is better than none. A slightly higher savings rate compounds. Paying off one debt improves cash flow that can be redirected. The goal at this stage isn't perfection, it's momentum. And momentum started now still has more runway than most people give themselves credit for. The 40s and 50s are a pivotal decade, not because the game is over, but because the decisions made here echo louder into retirement than almost any other period. Regret is only useful if it leads to action. And the most common financial regrets are not the result of bad luck. They're the result of waiting for a better moment that never came. If any of this felt familiar, that's not a reason to feel stuck. It's actually a reason to feel focused. Because the people who tend to arrive at retirement with confidence and flexibility aren't the ones who started with the most. They're the ones who made a decision at some point to stop waiting and start building a plan with intention. If you're in your 40s or 50s and wondering whether it's too late to change the outcome, the answer is no. But the window for easy adjustments gets smaller every year you wait. The best time to start was earlier. The second best time is right now. At Midland Financial, we help individuals and families work through exactly these kinds of decisions, identifying where the gaps are, where the opportunities still exist, and building a strategy designed to close the distance between where you are and where you want to be in retirement. If you're ready to take an honest look at your financial picture and start mapping out the steps toward your ideal tomorrow, reach out to us at Midland Financial to start that conversation. If this resonated with you, give the video a like and subscribe to the channel for more insights on building a retirement you can feel good about. I'm Larry Sprung with Midland Financial, where we strive to bring joy to your money journey. Thanks for being here.